This is a show that brings to the forefront newsmakers, entertainers, and those making a difference in our lives and in our world. Each week is a new adventure with topics ranging from the most serious and cutting edge to the most lighthearted and entertaining.
This is Taking Care of Business with Richard Solomon.
There was a place we went when we were young, where the stars came out to play. And deep within our hearts we hoped it would return someday. Some of the very finest have played upon that stage.
Hey, it's Richard Solomon. Keep listening.
Time ago when I was less than half my age. But here it is, after all these years. My father's place is back again. It's music to our ears.
All right, Richard Solomon taking care of business and My Father's Place Radio, and continuing our music journey. We have Johnny Rullo with us. Hey, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
All right, now this is an amazing song because this is like the theme song for My Father's Place. And you were like the first guy to play there at the new My Father's Place?
Right, first band to play the new stage.
Wow. So let's hear a couple more bars.
They closed the old place down, but it's been resurrected right back in its own hometown. Here it is, after all these years.
All right, so people who have heard me on the radio and doing promotional spots for My Father's Place, including Show Us Your Memorabilia, because we want to put it in our digital museum, that's going to be a familiar tune. So welcome. Thanks for being in our studios.
Happy to be here.
And so you actually played at the original My Father's Place.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the name of your bands in those days?
The name of the band was Johnny Castro and the Convertibles.
Now, so tell us about that, because that's semi-historic.
Okay, so what happened was I met this dude in Queens College. He sat behind me in English class, and he was whispering Buffalo Springfield lyrics. So I turned around and I said, "This guy's got to be cool."
Was it Stephen Stills?
No. So anyway, a friendship began, and we started writing songs together. And we were writing pop songs and country songs and all kinds of songs, and then punk music got popular, and we were going, "Oh man, we can do this." So in 2 weeks' time, we wrote 40-something songs, and we tried to make them as deranged as possible. I mean, these were sick songs. So we put this band together of 4 guys, very, very, very mediocre players, but we rehearsed 7 days a week, and we got really tight, and it was what the heck? It was just a shock, you know. And we were looking for places to play. So there was this little bar across the street from My Father's Place called the Little Club. And we went in there and we see if we can get a gig. And the guy goes, "Well, you got to audition." So we said, "All right." And he said, "Wednesday night is audition night." So we called everybody we knew, friends, relatives. We had tons of friends. And we filled this place up. And the guy was panicking because he didn't have enough waiter and waitress help, you know. So
maybe not enough of a C of O.
So he called the staff in, and it didn't matter how good or bad we were. He said, "How soon can you guys play here?" So we said, "This weekend." So we became regulars at this place, and the place was constantly crammed. And one day, Epi comes over and he goes, "What the heck, man? What's going on over here?" So I remember one night Eddie Money was playing at My Father's Place, and he came across the street. And Eddie Money came across the street, and he wanted to see what was going on in this place. So my sister was taking $2 at the door, and she wouldn't let him in. He goes, "You know who I am?" And she goes, "I don't care who you are. If you don't have $2, you ain't coming in." So long story short, Epi comes in, and Epi's checking us out. And
did Epi pay for the $2 for Eddie Money?
I doubt it. But Epi comes in, he's checking us out, and then he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, how would you like to play my place?" And I knew who he was and everything, and I was excited, you know. And I said, "Sure." And he ended up calling me, or I called him or something, and we became regulars there. We were opening up for everybody, you know.
So tell me, who did you open up for?
We opened up for Talking Heads.
Wow.
We opened up for the Ramones. We opened up for Southside Johnny and the Jukes. We opened up for Dave Edmonds, Nick Lowe, Rockpile, Mike Bloomfield, Rick Derringer, Papa John.
Wow.
Evie had a built-in opening act with us. But it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Were you close enough to being in the house band?
For a period, yeah.
So what years was this?
I think it was 78, 79.
All right. And how many members were in the band?
Four.
Okay.
And what happened was Epi kind of liked me. You know, he saw, you know, he goes, "You're the guy," you know. He goes, it was crazy. He said I had to get a better band, and we started replacing members, and I felt really horrible about it because these guys I was playing with were my buddies. And I was young at the time. I saw, you know, fame and fortune, and I don't know, who knows? Yeah,
it's like I remember seeing a famous movie scene where some guy goes up to a girl he's dating, and then all of a sudden he goes, "I don't fancy you anymore." And then, you know, she's crushed, and the guy looks like a heel. But I have a feel that was sort of like what this was.
Yeah. It was tough, but what the heck.
All right, so tell me about the progression. So you replace the people. So you replace all three?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, all three. And then
sent them on the gangplank.
Then Epi and I signed a management contract, and he put the band in the studio, and he got us hooked up with Columbia Records or Epic Records, and we were in CBS studios making some demos. And then Epi actually started his own record company. We put a single out, and you know, we gave it a gallant try, but shit happens, right?
That's an FCC problem that we'll fix. We'll bleep it out. It's all right. That's what we have engineers and editors for. All right. So things happen.
Yeah. So you know, he was trying to, you know, get us a deal, and then some stuff. We had some problems with the band, and switched members, and this guy didn't get along with that guy, and eventually we lost momentum, and the whole thing just fell apart. And then Epi got me a publishing deal. Well, he didn't get it for me. He opened the door for me and got a publishing deal with Koppelman Music back then, you know, which was pretty nice, writing songs and making a few bucks. But then I had to get a real job.
Okay. Well, yeah, reality bites. Okay, and what was the real job?
You're not going to believe it, but I worked for UPS for 25 years.
Wow, okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, listen, I got to retire young, got a pension. And the whole way, I kept meeting people who played music, and all throughout my career, can't tell you how many bands I started. All original bands, and all great tunes, if I have to say so myself. Okay. But, you know, there was never any place to play. You know, if you weren't a cover band, you weren't working.
A sad reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, you know, in many ways, it's like, you know, authors can't necessarily break into markets because the only people that sell are the established, you know, people. Everybody wants to read, like, you know, the you know, what is it, the Robert Ludlum book, or
right?
Or you know, whatever, like the Jack Ryan series, right, whatever it is, because, you know, I guess, or Harry Potter or whatever. But if you have, like, look, you know, I've seen people who have written tremendous, brilliant Star Trek episodes. You know, they go to the science fiction fairs, they love it, and they've written beautiful stuff, but somehow they just can't get through the gauntlet,
sure,
you know, of protection or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yet there's a lot of untapped stuff out there.
Definitely.
Now, I know that, by the way, Epi is Michael Epstein. He's the originator of My Father's Place, for people who may not know who we're talking about. It's almost like we're having this conversation, and we may not have included everybody in on who Epi is. Although, if you look at Wikipedia and you look up Epi, you'll see it's either Brian Epstein or Michael Epstein. Because I interviewed Jeremy Clyde, and I said, "Do you know Epi?" And he goes, "You mean You mean Brian Epstein? I'm not. No. Michael Epstein, a different Epi. One of the cool. By the way, one of the cool things about this show for people listening is we have a very expansive catalog of people that we've interviewed. Not that in the recent past. So there's Kate Taylor, there's Jeremy Clyde, there is the people from Vista Hill, there's Blu-rays. So and Johnny Rullo. So we just there's great people out there, and sadly, just like there's not a lot of places for people to perform new music, there's not a lot of musician interviews out on the radio. They're really that sort of disappeared. Also, one of my favorites was Rockline with Bob Coburn. He was on for 33 years,
right?
But sadly, he died, and I guess he wrapped it up about maybe a year or two before he died. But yeah, he was great, and then with all the, I remember listening to the radio a long time ago, and then I don't know if somebody was playing at the Garden or some other venue, and all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, here's so and so, here's the Who, here's Elton John. Yeah, they'll be playing tonight,
Right.
And they come in, they tell a couple of jokes, they maybe play a few songs. They never necessarily took a call. Maybe they gave away a couple of tickets. But at least you heard a little bit, and you gave a little bit of an insight, and usually they were promoting an album or something like that. But that's gone. That's really gone. Even satellite doesn't really do that much interviews per se. There's a lot of news about musicians, or there'll be album launches or things like that, or you'll have some rock and roll people actually do their own radio shows. I know on Access TV, I think Ron Wood has his, a new show that's popping out. And, of course, Tom Petty had Buried Treasures. Dylan had Theme Time Radio. But those were they weren't necessarily talking about themselves per se so much as they were kind of doing what I do, which is kind of interviewing and talking and playing music.
Their favorite music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but I like to actually find out things like, all right, so where'd you grow up?
I grew up in College Point, Queens.
All right, I know College Point well because I represent a lot of people there in my legal life, so a lot of the construction companies. So that whole. Do you remember? Because you probably do. When Speed's Airport was there, and that's where the Goodyear blimp.
That's where the Beatles landed.
Is that right? They didn't land at LaGuardia? They landed
at Speed's Airport when they played at Shea Stadium.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now, I interviewed.
You could see it from my house. If you stood on my front steps,
right,
you could see the airport. And I had my binoculars out, and I was hoping I could see the Beatles.
Now many years ago, the Goodyear blimp used to land there,
right,
and then they used to circle around, and then I guess they did various things where they ran, like a digital display, but they don't really do that much anymore.
No.
But I remember that. And then, I don't know, the airport closed up, and then it kind of became sort of a swamp.
Yeah.
I know there's a fight over, they want to develop it, but...
You got to see what it looks like now.
It's swampy.
No, it's all shopping malls.
Well, no, the airport part that's still contained is swampy, but 20th Avenue became all, big box stores,
right.
And, the whole bit, and then they put... I guess a little bit of an athletic field somewhere, and then there's that spot.
Do you remember Adventureland?
Of course. In fact,
Adventures Inn, it was called.
Adventures Inn, yeah.
Right.
Okay, do you remember Golf City? Had the
City,
slide,
right.
the big slide.
Right.
I never went on it, but passed by it 1,000 times a year. And it was I wonder what that's like, And then I remember Adventures Inn hung on for a long time because they had that arcade on the corner.
Right.
And it hung in for a long time because even after they got rid of the rides, the amusement stuff.
They had the bakery and the deli also.
Right. And it hung in there, and then one day it got bulldozed, and I'm like, oh, man. Because, that for a lot of people of Queens, North Queens, East Queens, whatever, that was just iconic. Mm-hmm. Did you ever go to Fort Totten as a kid?
Yeah.
What was kind of cool was when I went to school, there were a lot of kids whose parents were from the military, and there was the old fort. So what we used to do, and it was incredibly dangerous, but we used to play in the old fort. There was unfinished stuff. There were open walls, and you could have fallen and gotten killed or really badly hurt. But we just hung out there because it was, that was the thing to do.
My mom is still with us.
Thank God, yes.
And living in the same house I grew up in, in
College Point?
Yeah. And, when I go visit, it's like, what happened?
Actually, nothing happened. It's all the same.
No, it's changed.
Well, I mean, the thing that's a little sad about College Point is it's so packed. You can't find a parking spot in any of the streets. It's just so dense.
Yeah, now, but back then it was.
No, it was different back then. Yeah. Do you remember? Was it Kent Cleaners? Do you remember them?
Yes.
Yeah. Kent Cleaners was this big thing by Junior High School 194.
Right.
And it was big. I remember, and we used to play there also. All these places we went to would be considered either hazmat sites today
Right.
or OSHA violation zones. In fact, do you remember on the Cross Island Parkway Service Road, there was something called GTE Sylvania Labs. And it's where Bay Bridge Commons is now.
Okay.
It's kind of next to the Clearview Golf Course.
Right.
All right. From what I understand and what I've read, there was in the 1950s or so, there was a explosion. There was like a nuclear explosion there. And it was like, I forgot the name of the chemical, but it was like a radioactive element. And there was a lot of reports, and there was some kind of a congressional investigation from what I remember reading. But then it was dormant for a long time. And then one day, I guess they decided, okay, scare's over. And they just built condos on it.
Wow.
Know? And who knows if they really cleaned it up or not, but there's a lot of people who live there.
Yeah.
I don't know. And yet we played. Here's the thing that's really sad. That was a nuclear accident site. And we played there.
And we're fine.
Well, for today. So you grew up there. So we only have like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Do you remember your first band? Was it like, were you like in junior high school?
Oh, yeah, I was in grammar school.
All right. What kind of band was it?
That was it was crazy. It was a band. Playing, the music at the time. We were playing the Stones and the Byrds and stuff like that, and Beatles, and we were awful. But we got a gig at Bobby Cook's birthday party.
That's like that commercial for, I think, is it the insurance company where they go, Danger Kitty. They were famous in the 80s, and now the last thing they did before they broke up was the Finkelstein bar mitzvah. So you were in elementary school. You had a band. So I guess we'll do this when we come back. We got to definitely talk about maybe your musical influences, because I hear about the Beatles landing at Speeds Airport and all this other stuff. All right. So Richard Solomon, John Rullo. We'll be right back. Keep listening. We're gonna play some tunes, and we're gonna tell stories, and we're gonna have a great time. So keep it locked in. We'll be right back.
Wake up, people. Your future's at hand. We've been manipulated.
All right, Richard Solomon and Johnny Rullo, taking care of business on My Father's Place Radio. We're kind of like going in the whole time machine and talking about, Queens and growing up and all this other stuff. And we were talking during the break, which you guys missed out on, about Milkmaid.
Milkmaid.
And you wrote the Milkmaid Blues.
We used to hang out at Milkmaid, and I had a song called Milkmaid Blues.
Now, for those who don't know what Milkmaid was, I guess it was like the predecessor to Carvel.
Wasn't it like a combination of Carvel and like a burger joint?
Yeah, it was like Dairy Queen kind of.
Right.
But
it was like Arnold's. Yeah,
exactly. Except there was no Arnold. I remember like Milkmaid back in those days. It was cool. It's like if you were good, that's where you got to go. If you got punished, you went to Wetson's. And then of course the iconic White Castles was still there and still is there to this day.
Yeah.
A lot of those businesses and institutions all gone.
Honestly, I'm amazed that White Castle's still kicking.
Oh yeah, and now they have veggie burgers.
It's like White Castle is like the Catholic Church of burger joints. How is it still existing? Sorry.
Well,
I couldn't help it.
Let's put it this way: they're both timeless. All right, so tell me about the Milkmaid Blues as a song.
It was just,
it was a goofy song?
It was a goofy song, yeah. Because me and all my friends, we used to hang out at Milkmaid, and meet chicks and stuff like that,
See, nowadays you can't do that. Yeah. It's like, where are you going to meet chicks? Well, I don't know. I've heard that the Milkmaid was the place, but it's gone.
I think we called it Milkmaid Blues because none of us could get girlfriends or something.
Maybe because they were all at Kent Cleaners or one of the other places. All right, so who did you love listening to growing up?
Growing up, well,
the influences for your
Well, when I was a really young kid, pre-Beatles and all that stuff, my parents got me a little record player and some 45s, and my first two records were Teenage Idol by Ricky Nelson,
okay,
and Venus in Blue Jeans by Jimmy. I think his name was Jimmy Clanton or Jimmy Clayton, something like that. So
we can consult, the internet.
so I knew I was liking music way back then, and of course, like every other kid in the world, the Beatles. After you see the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, it's an epiphany. I got to do this.
Okay, so how were you exposed to the Beatles? Were you exposed on the radio? Were you exposed?
The radio,
word of mouth,
radio.
magazine. Okay.
First time I heard the Beatles, it was on the red transistor radio in my parents' kitchen, and Herb Oscar Anderson on ABC radio played "I Want to Hold Your Hand." And the first time I listened to it, I don't know how old I was, but I was young, and I said, "What the heck is this?" After you used to hearing the Four Seasons and everything, you go, "What the heck is this?" And then it took a little time, but it grew on me because I was nuts when I was a kid.
Unlike now.
I had to have every 45 on the top 20. It didn't matter if it was good or bad. If I just had to own them. I even bought like Sukiyaki. Do you remember that song?
Yes.
But I had to have every single. So I was, But okay,
Jimmy Clayton.
it was Jimmy Clayton.
There's Jimmy Clinton, is an American singer who became known as the swamp pop R&B teenage idol. He had a hit song, "Just a Dream." Is that the guy you were talking about? I don't know.
Who did Venus in Blue Jeans? I don't know.
All right, so that's a different search. All right, so hold on. Venus in
Blue Jeans.
Oh, there you go. In blue jeans. See, we spare no expense here doing research and engineering. So here we go. Venus in Blue Jeans. Jimmy Clinton. There you go.
Clinton, okay.
My Venus in Blue Jeans is everything I'd hope she be, a teenage goddess from above, and she belongs
to me. My wife and I sit at the dinner table at night with the radio on, and whenever we don't know who the song is by or what the song is, you just go, hey Google, what song is this? It's amazing.
Yeah, I remember there was like a program called like Soundhound or something on your cell phone, and you'd play, like if you're in like a store and they were playing something on the PA system, you just kind of hold it up and they would like listen to it and they go, "Oh yeah, that's
right.
That's so and so."
And the most obscure songs they know. It's
right.
Amazing.
It's like it's like it's like, oh yeah, that's Milk Bay Blues. All right, so let's. I like to play music. So this is a song called "Wake Up People." Should we explore that?
Yeah, why not?
Why don't you set up that song? What's that song?
Okay, this is from my current band, the Molotov Cocktails, which morphed out of my cover band.
Okay, we said that love.
my cover band called the Cocktails.
Right, and this is from an album called
Wake Up Call.
So this is the cover track. Here you go. All right, hold on. So let's get a little listen to it. So this is Johnny Rullo.
Get your heads out of the sand. Wake up, people. Your future's at hand. We've been manipulated. We've all been compromised. There is no truth in government. It's all a bunch of lies. Wake up, people. You don't have a choice. Wake up, people. Well, they don't want to hear your voice. They select the puppets. The system is a hoax. Your vote don't mean a thing. In their eyes, we're all a joke. Wake up, people. There's no left, there's no right. Wake up, people. The future's not bright. They've got us divided. It's all part of the plan. if we're not united, no way can we stand. Wake up, people, don't believe what you hear. Wake up, people, they wanna keep us in fear. Wake up, people, get your heads out of the sand. Wake up, people, your future's at hand. It's time to let them know we finally had enough. It's time to share the wealth. It's time for getting tough. Wake up, people. Wake up, people. Wake up, people. Wake up, people. People, wake up. People wake up. People wake up. People wake up.
All right, Richard Solomon, Johnny Rullo. We're listening to the album called, and this is actually an album, The Molotov Cocktails, called Wake Up Call. And there's actually some cool stuff about this. The first thing is it actually opens up and there's liner notes inside, which is kind of cool. There's some very interesting song titles, such as Turn Off Your TV, Made in China, and Just Because That's What They Taught Us. And I noticed that there's someone with the same last name as yours.
Right, that's my son.
All right, and he plays drums?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Drums, backing vocals, and it says, thanks to all of you who donated to our Kickstarter campaign to make this undertaking possible. So talk about that. Let's hear it.
Okay, so what happened was I had this, like I said, I had this cover band, and my partner in the cover band is a guitar player, Joe, who's also the guitar player in the Molotov Cocktails. And
when you're a cover band, you wear mustaches and fake glasses.
Yeah.
You know, cheap beards, blue hair.
So I came up with this idea. I said, there's nobody writing songs, at least that I've heard of, on that you don't hear anything on the radio, where people are saying something about, what's going on in the world. I mean, the world is,
in turmoil.
In turmoil, exactly.
But everywhere. I mean, it's just locally, state-wise.
Yeah, but I remember like loving the Jefferson Airplane, Volunteers, and, everybody was singing songs about, things that mattered. And I said, we need that again. So I got busy and I started, writing a bunch of songs. And then I did a Kickstarter campaign. I said, we got to go into the studio with this. And I told my son, I said, I'll only do this if you do this with me. And I played him the songs, and he loved them. And he's an awesome drummer. I mean, people want him to play in their bands because he's like a metronome. He's one of the few guys that could play with tracks and be right on the money. So he said, yeah, Dad, let's do this. So I said, all right, I did a Kickstarter campaign and raised $4,000.
Not bad. Not shabby.
And you know what? Right after I did this, like somebody close to me did a Kickstarter, like a GoFundMe, because they had breast cancer. And I felt, oh, jeez, But anyway, we made some money to get started, and, then we put some of our own money in to get this done, and it was great. We recorded it at Sabella Studios. If I could, Jimmy Sabella?
No, but let's hear it.
Jimmy's an awesome studio in Roslyn. Just
right down the road, yeah.
Just a real warm, old, that good feeling vintage studio with old analog equipment. It was just a really great place to work. Anyway, and we did this album, and I figured we got him naked with this material, but here we are 3 years later.
There's something called the long tail, and that's that because you don't need to have immediacies of sales anymore. You have the long tail, which is you could just keep selling. It's not like okay, you can publish your book today, but if it doesn't sell within the 3 months and the bookstore takes you off, you can still have a longer life,
Right.
on the internet. So this is out there.
I'm not even, it's not even about money because, I don't, not that I don't need money, but I don't need money. I'm comfortable, I just want people to hear it. That's it.
So where do they get this? Where can they buy this?
They can get that at CD Baby.
Okay.
And they can get it at Amazon.
Okay.
And iTunes, all your digital.
Now, do you think that maybe there's a marketing issue that people are afraid to Google or search Molotov cocktails?
Without a doubt, because Epi said maybe you ought to call the band the Johnny Rullo Band.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like all of a sudden you're Googling I want to buy Molotov cocktails.
Well,
and there's a knock on the door.
After the fact, I didn't think to do this, but we Googled Molotov cocktails, and back in the punk heyday, there was a band called the Molotov Cocktails that were were like extreme punk. They didn't sound like this, but yeah.
So why'd you call yourselves the Molotov Cocktails? Obviously not consulting your internet brand management target trademark.
The reason
people.
we did it was an inside joke because our cover band was called the Cocktails.
I got you.
So I said, we'll do an original band with all these songs about becoming aware and stuff like that, and with the politics and religion. We'll call it the Molotov Cocktails. Oh, that's a great idea.
Are you a fan of The Simpsons?
I love The Simpsons.
Right, the Flaming Moes. Remember the Flaming Moe? He invented this, Mo, whatever his last name is, Clapchick or whatever his name is.
I love The Simpsons and I love Family Guy.
Oh, yeah. I love that stuff. I love the talking dog. All right. So there's a song here called Turn Off Your TV, and just because that's what they taught us. Which one should we play for a few minutes before we fade into the break?
Let's go with Just Because That's What They Told Us.
All right, so set that up while I move over here.
Okay, basically it's everything we learned, folks, is a lie.
Just because that's what they told us doesn't make it necessarily true. And just because that's what they showed us doesn't mean that's what we have to do. In Sunday school they taught me Jesus died for my sins. And though it's kind of crazy, well, it was more than I saw him. If I chose not to believe it, they said I'd burn in hell. But it doesn't seem like Jesus, as far as I could tell. Just because that's what they told us doesn't make it necessarily true. And just because that's what they showed us doesn't mean that's what we have to do. They said it was Columbus who sailed the ocean blue, discovering America in 1492. Made him out to be a hero, someone to idolize. But our history books are nothing more than candy-coated lies. Just because that's what they told us doesn't make it necessarily true. And just because that's what they showed us doesn't mean that's what we have to do. They told me that I had to.
All right, this is Richard Solomon with Johnny Rullo. We're listening to his song, Just Because That's What They Taught Us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
It really was a drag.
Richard Solomon,
Guitar on my lap.
Taking Care of Business, My Father's Place Radio. We are listening to an album called Johnny Rules, and this is the third song, Under the Moon and Stars. We're with Johnny Rullo, so we're going to play a little bit of this. This is not a Molotov cocktail song.
Why I'm still in a band. How we forget sometimes. Life can be so grand. And here we are, under the moon and stars, acting out our parts, fulfilling our destinies. Well, it's the same old song, just played in different keys. Talking with a friend about the news of the day. It's funny how we tend to see things in a different way. Well, it's not always black and white, so why not call it gray? Sometimes we're better off when we've got nothing to say. And here we are, under the moon and stars, acting out our parts, fulfilling our destinies, teasing our hearts, entertaining fantasies. I was taking a walk around the neighborhood. I started thinking about how we've had it so good. Life took its turns like we knew it would. We've come a long, long way from where we once stood. And here we are, under the moon and stars, acting out our parts, fulfilling our destinies. It's the same old song, just played in different keys. And here we are, under the moon and stars, acting out our parts, fulfilling our destinies, teasing our hearts, entertaining fantasies.
All right, Richard Solomon, Johnny Rullo. So you're listening to this song on your headphones. What were you thinking and experiencing? Because, I hear it one way because it's not me, but you're listening to it. What are you focusing on? Is it, the way the song is structured, or I should have done this, or I really like that, or
I love that song.
It's a great song. Yeah, it's a great song.
And Ray, my friend Ray, is playing guitar on this, and when I'm listening to him squeeze those notes out, they just, for me, they give me goosebumps. I know, no matter how many times I listen to that song, I love it more. And the lyrics, it's pretty autobiographical. It's like, you turn around and you find yourself at this age, and you're going, where did the time go? Where the hell did the time go?
Yeah, well,
And here we are under the moon and stars, acting out our parts, fulfilling our destinies. I don't know. I think.
So, what do you feel that you've accomplished, and what do you feel that you've yet to accomplish in music?
In music, well, my brain never stops.
That's good.
I'm constantly thinking. I'm always writing. Songs pour out of me like crazy. I'm wise enough to know that at this time in my life, and just the way things are, the whole rock star thing is over a long time ago. But I just want to keep writing and recording if I can, just to share it. That's it. Just so people could listen and say, "Hey, that was pretty cool." That's it. And leave something for my kids and my grandchildren. One of my daughters said to me, "Dad, when you die, I want all your songs."
Well, you could have them now.
One daughter wants my books. My other daughter wants my songs, and my son wants all my equipment.
That's funny.
But this I just want to mention the guys in the Molotov Cocktails.
So why don't you mention both bands? So
okay.
So let's go with the Molotov. Who's in the Molotov Cocktails?
Molotov Cocktails was me, my son, Joe Volpe on guitar and vocals. Joe also plays with me in a cover band, and and this fellow I found on Craigslist, bass player Richie Albertson, great find, just wonderful guy.
Hey, they named the town after him in Long Island.
Right, exactly. And Glenn Campbell sang a song about it. Albertson, oh Albertson, right? But yeah, and then this guy who I knew from College Point way back in the days, through Facebook, popped back into my life. His name is Al DeSimone, and he replaced my son on the drums.
And he was the one who played at my father's place.
He played at my father's place. So
yes. And by the way, if there are people who videotape this or whatever, it was a great show. It was a great show. Hopefully there'll be nuggets of that on YouTube. I'm sure we have the actual sound.
It's all out there. Almost every song is on YouTube somewhere.
All right, good. That's good.
A friend of mine. And this Johnny Rules thing.
Yeah, so who's on this album?
Okay, this is, believe it or not, this guy I used to work with at UPS, that I never even knew played anything. One day somebody comes up to me and said, "Hey, listen to this tape." And the guitar playing was just incredible. I said, "Who is that?" He goes, "That's Ray." His name is Ray Russo. And one day he calls me up. He knows I write songs. And he goes, "Hey, Johnny, why don't you come over with a couple of songs?" So I did, and he has a home studio. And
got to have the home studio. Yeah, you got to have the home studio.
And
it's cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. And one song led to 14. And we had somebody come in and mix it up and everything like that. And there we go. We put it out,
So what would you say is the genre of music of Johnny Rules? What kind of music is this?
Johnny Rules is
more ballady.
It's a little bit of everything.
More introspective, or is
it's introspective. There's a cool country song on there called "The Closer I Get." It's about a guy who wants to give it all up and move to Nashville. It's a pretty cool song. And then there's political songs, and there's a song called "Fake News," which is kind of satirical on the whole fake news thing we got going on today. Some of it's very powerful, rocking. Some of it's mellow.
Right, cool.
It's a nice mix. And there's a couple of songs on there that the Molotov Cocktails also do. Only Love Matters and Before It Gets Too Late.
So would you say that the Molotov Cocktails is a cover band of Johnny Rules?
Or vice versa.
Oh, no. Don't tell Epi. So what would you like to do as your future music? A live album, greatest hits?
I mean, I have so many. I have thousands of songs.
Have you ever decided to take one song from every 5 years and do
that would be cool
chronology, and you call the album progression? And
Yeah,
it's
that would be
you
cool.
have the song from 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, because I'm sure that both you and the world were moving in all kinds of directions, and what was compelling you to say something probably kept changing.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because I'm sure when everybody's younger, it's more about love and disappointment,
Right.
And then as you get older, it's more about bitterness and disappointment.
Yeah, when you're young, it's all about sex, and then when you get older, it's like, who cares about sex?
Well, that's the. I'll tell you a joke offline, but the punchline is, I'll have the soup. If you know the joke.
I know the joke.
I'll have the soup. By the way, for those who know the joke, that is a great joke. It is a great joke.
But
if
I'd
not,
like-
just private message me. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this.
I wish I could live in the studio and just keep recording music.
But you can. I mean,
I can. But
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best thing about the music scene now? What is the worst thing about the music scene now, especially compared to the days when you were doing, lots of live events at the original My Father's Place, and you were like,
well, back then, I actually feel sorry for kids today that are even contemplating a career in music. Back then, even though the chances were 1 in a million that you were going to make it, you always had the dream, because there were record companies, there were A&R people that used to come out and listen to bands. So you always had that dream. You
could always be discovered.
You could always be discovered. And nowadays, there's none of that. There's none of that, and
there's not even really a record business anymore.
There's no record business.
Where did you buy your records growing up?
Where? Oh, man.
EJ Corvettes?
Yes.
Yes.
I got to tell you a funny story.
I want funny stories. This show's about funny stories.
My dad was great. He always he was a wheeler and dealer kind of guy. Always making connections. And he made this connection with a guy from CBS. And every week we'd get these big envelopes in the mail with all these albums. And I was getting albums of groups like Country Joe and the Fish and the Grateful Dead before anybody even knew who they were. And we get tons and tons of albums, and some of them I just didn't like. So we would go to E.J. Corvettes in Flushing, and what I would do is I shouldn't be saying this.
The statute of limitation have passed.
I would peel the price labels, the stickers off the records in the store, and put them on the ones that I got for free from my dad's friend. And when I'd go in and say, I got this as a gift, and I would like to exchange it for something else. And it got to the point they knew who I was. So I started giving my friends records to go in and it was pretty cool. I had a lot of records.
In those days, the albums were like $2.99, $3.99.
Yeah.
They were very affordable.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were the first albums you remember buying from Corvettes? Not the CBS freebies, but the ones that you actually affirmatively bought with your own money.
Jeez. You know what?
Who are your favorite bands growing up?
I used to get so many albums for nothing. I didn't have to buy many, but I remember waiting for the day that the Jefferson Airplane released Crown of Creation, and I bought it at, remember, Upstairs Music in Flushing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I bought it.
Yes. Do you remember Gloria Pizza?
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't?
I think they're still there. They have a picture of an old bus.
I think they moved to Forest Hills.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago that they were still there, but
Yeah.
they were timeless.
My dad brought home the first Beatles album, Meet the Beatles. I remember him walking in the house and he was holding it up and like my father was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
My father actually went to the Fillmore East with me and all my friends to see Jefferson Airplane because he loved Grace Slick.
Oh wow, and she had such a great voice.
Yeah.
When you listen to her either in the Airplane or in some of the Starship songs, she has such a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really do much anymore.
No,
Like a lot of people have retired, and
she's great grandma now.
So, in the 2 remaining minutes, which flew this whole thing.
That was fun. That was fun.
We have to do another one. But in the 2 remaining minutes, what do your fans want to know that they don't know? What do you want to tell them? That when you go up there and you perform, it's like it's all business. You have the sound check, and you gotta. You got to play, and you can't like really sit down and go, Yeah. Is there anything you ever want to like? Here's your platform. Is there anything you want to say directly to them?
Well, I think that if they just listen to the lyrics to the song, especially the stuff on the Wake Up Call, the
Molotov cocktail,
the Molotov cocktails.
Maybe they have to do safe search. Well,
there are lyrics. There are lyrics enclosed.
No, I'm saying that when they do the search for the album, they have to use like a stealth search, right?
Yeah,
and then put "I'm not a terrorist."
Right. No, just listen to it because it's pretty much all about, I don't want to. I know you don't like to get into politics.
I don't do politics.
But it's just that. Listen, folks. We're all in this together, man. We got to get along and like.
Well, that's why we have radio. We can hang out and tell stories about the Milkmaid Blues, and,
right.
and nuclear radiation in the 50s.
But if you listen to the Molotov Cocktails album, it says it all.
So real fast on the My Father's Place song, just to kind of go full circle.
Okay.
That's a great song.
Oh, thank you.
It's a great song. It's a fun song. I like when you're playing it, sort of like, in front of the hotel or I guess the entrance. The video. That was cool. It was very cool. In literally 30 seconds, how long did you just film it one day? It was just one of those things. It was like a pop-up video. You just filmed it.
What happened? What happened was I wrote the song.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did it with my friend Ray, and I made a quick video of all the stock footage of. And then one day I get a call from Epp, and he goes, "Listen, I want you to come meet me in Roslyn on Sunday. Blah blah blah. We're going to do a video." And he goes, "Bring your guitar." And next thing I know, what's his name? Perry. Perry and Pete got me going all around Roslyn, lip syncing to this song, and they made the video, which is a lot of fun.
All right. That was the fastest hour of radio in America for this week. Thank you all for listening. That was Johnny Rullo. Thank you for being in the studio. Richard Solomon. We'll see you next week. Keep on rocking.